Flagship of the World. Chapter 6. The QE2 Final Years, the Decision to Retire. As the QE2 sailed through the 1990s, she continued to be a beloved icon of the seas, but the changing landscape of the travel industry cast a long shadow over her future. Air travel had become the preferred mode of transportation for long-distance journeys, and ocean liners like the QE2 faced increasing competition from modern cruise ships. Despite her enduring popularity, the QE2 operating costs were rising, and the Cunard Line faced mounting financial pressures. The decision to retire the QE2 was a difficult one, but it became increasingly clear that the ship's time was coming to an end. In 2008, Cunard announced that the QE2 would make her final voyage in November of that year. The news was met with sadness and nostalgia by fans and former passengers around the world. The QE2 had become a symbol of a bygone era, and her retirement marked the end of an era in ocean travel. The QE2 final voyage was a grand affair, befitting a ship that had served with distinction for over 4 decades. She sailed from Southampton, England, on her last journey, retracing her maiden voyage route across the Atlantic Ocean to New York City. Along the way, she made stops in several ports, allowing passengers to disembark and bid farewell to the legendary liner. As the QE2 approached New York Harbor, she was greeted by a flotilla of boats and a cheering crowd. The city's skyline sparkled in the distance, a fitting backdrop for the QE2 final farewell. The ship docked at Pier 90 in Manhattan, where a crowd of well-wishers gathered to pay their respects to the grand old lady of the seas. Chapter 6. The QE2 Final Years, a Farewell Tour. As the QE2 gracefully sailed towards the twilight of her illustrious career, Cunard Line announced a poignant farewell tour, a final opportunity for loyal passengers and maritime enthusiasts to bid farewell to this beloved vessel. The tour, spanning several months, encompassed a series of voyages to iconic destinations, retracing the QE2 glorious past and allowing passengers to relive cherished memories. The atmosphere aboard the QE2 during the farewell tour was one of bittersweet nostalgia and celebration. Former passengers, many of whom had sailed on the QE2 multiple times, returned to experience once again the ship's timeless elegance and impeccable service. New passengers, drawn by the allure of a journey aboard a legendary vessel, eagerly embarked on this unique voyage. The itinerary of the farewell tour was carefully crafted to showcase the QE2 versatility and rich history. The ship visited ports that held special significance in her story, including New York City, the QE2 home away from home, and Southampton, the port from which she embarked on her maiden voyage. Each destination offered passengers a chance to explore historic landmarks, indulge in local cuisine, and immerse themselves in diverse cultures. On board the QE2, passengers were treated to a series of special events and activities befitting a grand farewell. Gala dinners, themed parties, and live performances filled the ship's public spaces, creating an atmosphere of camaraderie and celebration. Renowned speakers and historians delivered lectures on the QE2 history, her cultural impact, and the golden age of ocean travel. The farewell tour also provided passengers with opportunities to engage with the QE2 dedicated crew, who had served the ship with pride and passion throughout her long career. Crew members shared their stories, insights, and anecdotes, offering passengers a glimpse into the behind-the-scenes workings of this magnificent vessel. As the farewell tour drew to a close, a sense of finality mingled with gratitude and admiration. The QE2, a true flagship of the world, had completed her final voyage, leaving behind a legacy of maritime excellence and cherished memories. Chapter 6. The QE2 Final Years, the QE2 Last Voyage. As the QE2 approached the twilight of her illustrious career, the world prepared to bid farewell to an icon of the seas. In 2008, the decision was made to retire the grand ocean liner, marking the end of an era in maritime travel. The news of the QE2 impending retirement was met with a mix of sadness and nostalgia among her loyal passengers and crew. For many, the QE2 was more than just a ship. She was a cherished part of their lives, a symbol of elegance, adventure, and the romance of ocean travel. In the lead-up to her final voyage, the QE2 embarked on a farewell tour, visiting ports around the world and giving her devoted fans a chance to say goodbye. The atmosphere on board was electric, filled with a sense of celebration and camaraderie. Passengers and crew alike revel in the opportunity to create lasting memories aboard the legendary vessel. As the QE2 set sail on her final voyage from Southampton, England, she was escorted by a flotilla of smaller boats, a fitting tribute to her enduring legacy. The journey took her across the Atlantic Ocean to New York City, where she received a hero's welcome. Upon her arrival in New York, the QE2 was greeted by cheering crowds and a dazzling fireworks display. The city that had once been her home port embraced her one last time, honoring her contributions to the world of travel and tourism. The QE2 final voyage culminated in a grand farewell ceremony, attended by dignitaries, celebrities, and thousands of her devoted fans. As the sun set over the Hudson River, the QE2 slipped away from her berth, embarking on her final journey to Dubai, where she would be permanently docked as a floating hotel. Chapter 6. The QE2 Final Years, a Sad Farewell. As the QE2 sailed towards the twilight of her illustrious career, a sense of nostalgia and anticipation filled the air. The ship that had once symbolized the pinnacle of ocean travel was now preparing for her final voyage, leaving behind a legacy that would forever be etched in maritime history. In the years leading up to her retirement, the QE2 underwent a series of renovations and upgrades, ensuring that she remained a modern and comfortable vessel. Yet, despite these efforts, the changing landscape of the travel industry cast an uncertain shadow over her future. Air travel had become the preferred mode of transportation for long-distance journeys, and cruise ships were increasingly favored for their affordability and convenience. The QE2 final years were marked by a mix of celebration and farewell. In 2007, she embarked on a grand world cruise, retracing the steps of her maiden voyage and visiting iconic destinations around the globe. Passengers flocked to experience one last journey aboard this legendary ship, eager to create memories that would last a lifetime. As the QE2 approached the end of her service, Cunard Line announced her retirement with a heavy heart. The news was met with sadness and disappointment by loyal passengers and crew members alike. The QE2 had become more than just a ship. She was an institution, a symbol of a bygone era of elegance and luxury. In November 2008, the QE2 set sail on her final voyage from Southampton, England, bound for Dubai. Along the way, she made stops in several ports, allowing passengers to disembark and bid farewell to their beloved ship. The atmosphere was bittersweet, filled with both joy and sorrow. On November 27, 2008, the QE2 arrived in Dubai, marking the end of an era. She was greeted by a flotilla of boats and a cheering crowd, paying tribute to her remarkable journey. The QE2 retirement signaled the end of an era, but her legacy would live on in the hearts of those who had sailed aboard her and in the annals of maritime history. Chapter 6. The Key to Final Years, the End of an Era. As the 20th century drew to a close, the QE2 found herself at a crossroads. The world of ocean travel was changing rapidly, and the era of the great ocean liners was coming to an end. Air travel had become the preferred mode of transportation for long-distance journeys, and passenger ships were increasingly seen as a thing of the past. The QE2, however, remained a beloved icon, a symbol of a bygone era of elegance and luxury. She had a loyal following of passengers who appreciated her unique charm and the unparalleled experience she offered. But even as she continued to sail, the writing was on the wall. In the early 2000s, Cunard Line, the QE2 operator, began to face financial difficulties. The company was struggling to compete with the newer, larger cruise ships that were becoming increasingly popular. The QE2, with her classic design and limited capacity, was no longer able to generate enough revenue to justify her continued operation. In 2008, Cunard Line made the difficult decision to retire the QE2. The news was met with sadness and disappointment by her loyal fans, who had hoped that she would continue to sail for many years to come. However, the decision was unavoidable. The QE2 was simply no longer economically viable. The QE2 final voyage took place in November 2008. She sailed from Southampton, England, to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, where she was to be converted into a floating hotel. The journey was a poignant one, as passengers and crew alike bid farewell to a beloved ship. The QE2 arrival in Dubai marked the end of an era. She had sailed the seas for over 40 years, carrying millions of passengers to destinations all over the world. She had witnessed history unfold, from the Falklands War to the fall of the Berlin Wall. She had been a home away from home for countless people, and she had left an indelible mark on the world of ocean travel. This video was created from an ebook on sale at www.pagebook24.com using a self-developed program by Pasquale DeMarco. Download the ebook now